The Green Caste, Physicians of Gore. Science Not Witchcraft. A lecture by Sarah Thorne. Masters, mistresses, free men and free women, Kajare and Kajarii. I greet you, you know me, Sarah Thorne. Some call me the living encyclopedia of Gore. Some call me the Holmes of Gore. I have carried these books for 43 years. Tonight I speak about a caste that has been misrepresented in Second Life Gore for years. A caste that is often played as medieval herb witches, mixing potions in dark rooms, bleeding patients with leeches, mumbling prayers over foul-smelling brews. I speak about the Green Caste, the Physicians of Gore. Let me be clear from the start, the Physicians of Gore are not what most SL players think they are. They are not herbal witches, they are not medieval barbers, they are not ignorant of science. They are scientists. And their medicine was, in many ways, far more advanced than Earth medicine long before Earth caught up. Let us look at the facts. Part 1. What the books say. Matthew Cabot, the father of Taro Cabot, says in Tarnsman of Gore. There is at least one area, however, in which the priest-kings do take a most active interest in this world, and that is the area of technology. They limit, selectively, the technology available to us, the men below the mountains. For example, incredibly enough, weapon technology is controlled to the point where the most powerful devices of war are the crossbow and lance. Further, there is no mechanized transportation or communication equipment or detection devices such as radar and sonar. On the other hand, you will learn that in lighting, shelter, agricultural techniques and medicine, for example, the mortals or men below the mountains are relatively advanced. Tarnsman of Gore, pages 31-32. This is the key. The priest-kings restricted weapon technology, but they allowed medicine to flourish. And flourish it did. The same book describes a medical examination room. On the first day the physician, a quiet man in the green garments of his caste, examined me thoroughly. The instruments he used, the tests he performed, the samples he required were not unlike those of Earth. Of special interest to me was the fact that this room, primitive though it might be, was lit by what in Gorean is called an energy bulb, an invention of the builders. I could see neither cords nor battery cases. Yet the room was filled with a soft, gentle white light, which the physician could regulate by rotating the base of the bulb. Further, certain pieces of his instrumentation were clearly far from primitive. For example, there was a small machine with gauges and dials. In this he would place slides containing drops of blood and urine, flecks of tissue, a strand of hair. With a stylus he would note readings on the machine. And on the small screen at the top of the machine, I saw, vastly enlarged, what reminded me of an image witnessed under a microscope. Captive of Gore, pages 92-93. This is not the Middle Ages. This is advanced diagnostic technology, blood analysis, tissue samples, microscopy. The energy bulb lights the room clean, bright, adjustable. No smoke, no fire hazard, no eye strain. The medical instruments themselves have their own power sources, small, long-lasting energy cells built by the builder's caste, similar to the technology inside the energy bulbs. Part 2. The Stabilization Serum. The most important medical achievement on Gore is the Stabilization Serum. In Assassin of Gore, we read, where the stabilization serums were developed centuries ago by the caste of physicians in Ko-Ro-Ba and R, and transmitted to the physicians of other cities at several of the Sirdar fairs. Assassin of Gore, page 29. Centuries ago, not decades, not recently, centuries, the stabilization serum halts the aging process. A Gorian who receives the serum at age 25 will look 25 for centuries. Matthew Cabot is over 500 years old. He looks like a man in middle age. Gorian physicians developed this serum hundreds of years before Earth even understood the basics of genetics. And later, they developed rejuvenation techniques, the ability to reverse aging, not just stop it. The priest kings have mastered cellular regeneration and are biologically immortal. For humans, rejuvenation exists, but it is normally forbidden by the white caste, not because it is impossible, because religion forbids it. The technology exists. The knowledge exists. The physicians have it. Part 3, Energy Cells, not just light bulbs. The energy bulb is a light source, nothing more. It lights the room. It does not power machines. But the builder's caste developed more than just energy bulbs. They created small, long-lasting energy cells, likely based on the same cold fusion technology. These energy cells are compact, small enough to be built into medical devices. Long-lasting, they last for years if not decades. Safe, no moving parts, no heat, no external radiation. Powerful, enough energy for blood analyzers, screens, scanners. A medical device contains its own energy cell, sealed, maintenance-free for years. The physician opens a small hatch, replaces the cell once a decade or once a century, and the device works again. This is the key point. The same technology that lights an energy bulb for years can power a blood analyzer, a screen, or a specialized treatment device. The builder's caste adapted the technology for different purposes. No cords, no outlets, no visible power supply. That is Gorian, practical, durable, unobtrusive. Part 4, Genetic Analysis, the tools behind the serum. The ability to analyze DNA is not a gift from the priest kings. It is a human achievement of the Gorian physicians. Without genetic analysis, the stabilization serum would be impossible. Without genetic analysis, rejuvenation would be impossible. Without genetic analysis, the vaccines that keep Gore nearly disease-free would be impossible. The books do not explicitly describe a genetic sequencer, but the books describe their achievements, and those achievements require genetic analysis. The stabilization serum. To stop the aging process, you must understand how aging works at a cellular and genetic level. The Gorians developed this serum centuries ago. Therefore, they had the tools to understand genetics. Rejuvenation. To reverse aging, you must manipulate genetic expression. The technology exists on Gore. Therefore, genetic manipulation is possible. The Bazi plague. To track a mutating disease, you must analyze its genetic code. The physicians study the Bazi plague. Therefore, they have the tools to analyze its DNA. The logical conclusion: Gorian physicians have access to genetic analysis technology. It may not look like a modern DNA sequencer. It may be a handcrafted device by the builder's caste, with dials, gauges, and a small screen. It may be slow by our standards. It may be expensive and rare, found only in the great medical academies of R, Ko-Ro-Ba, and Brundisium. But it exists, because the achievements require it. This is not a gift from the priest kings. This is human ingenuity. The Baumeister caste built these devices. The physicians use them. The priest kings do not interfere because medicine is one of the areas where they allow progress. Part 5. 500 years of development. The stabilization serum was developed over 500 years ago. That means the Gorians have been working with genetics for at least 500 years. Has the technology not improved in 500 years? Of course it has. A genetic analyzer from the early days of the stabilization serum would have been the size of a desk, made of brass and glass with tubes, dials, levers, a small green glowing screen. It needed a trained specialist. An analysis took hours. Today, after 500 years of slow, organic evolution, the device is more compact, perhaps the size of a cabinet, maybe even portable field devices for rural physicians. More capable, it can analyze blood, sequence genes, identify pathogens. Easier to use, the levers are more precise, the displays clearer, the screens better. Smaller, the energy cells are smaller, the components more refined. This is not modern in the sense of annual updates. The builder's caste improves a design perhaps once in a generation. But over 500 years, the improvements add up. That is not Ungarian. That is progress, slow, craft-based, conservative, but progress. Part 6 is specialized treatment devices. The Earth chose certain medical paths. Gore may have chosen different paths. Cataracts, gray star. On Earth, surgery with a microscope, ultrasound, artificial lens. Expensive, invasive, risky. On Gore, a device placed over the eye. It emits a specific form of energy, perhaps sound waves, perhaps a tuned light field. The cloudy lens dissolves. The natural lens regenerates. No surgery, no needle, no scar, appendicitis. On Earth, surgery, general anesthesia. Incision, scar, days of recovery. On Gore, a device placed on the abdomen. It emits focused energy. The inflamed appendix is destroyed from within. The dead cells are absorbed by the body. An hour later, the patient walks out. No scar, no recovery time. Kidney stones. On Earth, shockwave therapy, but not effective for all stones. On Gore, a device that dissolves the stones with precision energy, no pain, no side effects. The principal specialized energy forms that Earth does not know or cannot use with such precision. No surgery, no cuts, no scars, at least for many procedures. Quick recovery, often within hours. The devices are handcrafted, expensive, maintenance-intensive, but available in the great medical academies of the major cities. That is not Ungarian. That is different, and that is the appeal of science fiction. Part 7, Curii fat and synthetic healing salves. Curii fat is known to heal wounds. In the books, it is mentioned as having remarkable healing properties. But the Gorians are not dependent on hunting curii. They have analyzed the active compounds. They have created synthetic versions of the healing salves just as effective without the danger of facing a cure. That is research. That is adaptation. That is Gorian. The physicians do not rely on luck or scarce resources. They invent. They improve. They synthesize. Part 8, the removal of brandings, the proof of Tarl Cabot. Tarl Cabot was a slave. He had brandings. In later books, when he appears as a free warrior, those brandings are never mentioned again. They are not visible. There are no scars. If brandings could only be removed by cutting out the skin, Cabot would have large, disfiguring scars. He does not. The only logical conclusion: Gorian medicine has a method to remove scar tissue completely, without traces. The same technology that heals wounds quickly can also regenerate scar tissue. That is not speculation. That is evidence. The same healing salves that close wounds in hours can dissolve old scar tissue. The same understanding of cell regeneration that produced the stabilization serum can restore normal skin. If a physician can heal a wound without a scar, they can remove an old brand without a trace. Tarl Cabot is the proof. Part 9. The physicians never stopped researching. The selective BTB players say, Gorian medicine is what it is. It has not changed for centuries. That is false. The physicians of Gore have never stopped researching. The stabilization serum was developed centuries ago and then improved. The modern version is better than the version from 500 years ago. Fewer side effects, longer duration, easier application. Rejuvenation, it exists. It is forbidden, but research did not stop. Secretly, in hidden labs, a physician who perfected rejuvenation would be the greatest healer of all time, or a dead man if the white caste found out. The Bazi plague, it mutates quickly, but the physicians do not give up. They collect samples, they analyze the genetic code, they develop new vaccines, they adapt. Darkosis, the holy disease. The white caste forbids its cure under penalty of death, but there are physicians who break the ban, secretly. In hiding, they research a cure not out of defiance but out of medical ethics. Curiae fat, it heals wounds, but the Gorians are not dependent on hunting curiae. They have analyzed the active compounds. They have created synthetic versions. That is research, that is progress, that is Gorian. Part 10. How this changes physician RP. With this understanding, the roleplay of physicians becomes not only richer, it becomes alive. A physician does not just gather herbs, he analyzes samples, he formulates hypotheses, he conducts experiments. A physician can work secretly on forbidden technologies, rejuvenation, the cure for darkosis. That is dangerous, that is exciting, that is story. A physician can collaborate with the builder's caste to develop new devices. The physician says, I need a device that accelerates cell regeneration. The builders build it. A physician can have a rival, another physician with a different theory. They argue at symposia. They compete for the favor of the rich. They try to outdo each other. A physician can discover something, a new treatment, a new serum, a new cure. That is fame, that is wealth, that is legend, that is not boring, that is adventure. Part 11. The physician's role in society. Safe conduct. Physicians generally enjoy safe conduct everywhere. It is not a law but a custom. No one attacks a physician. No one enslaves a physician. They are too valuable. Even in war, physicians from enemy cities treat the wounded of both sides. Their duty to heal transcends politics. The two bracelets, women of the Green Caste. Women of the physician's caste are treated differently. They are trained in medicine like the men, but they cannot enter full practice until they have borne 2 children. At the age of 15, a female physician wears 2 bracelets on her left wrist. When she has 1 child, 1 bracelet is removed. When she has a second child, the second bracelet is removed. Then she may enter full practice. This is not discrimination. It is a practical measure to ensure that the caste does not lose its most intelligent members to childlessness. The white caste, initiates. The white caste discourages any worship outside the priest kings. They are powerful, but physicians are not theologians. They are scientists. They do not challenge the white caste openly, but they do not let religious dogma stop them from healing. The exception is darkosis. The white caste forbids its cure under penalty of death. Not because medicine is impossible, because religion forbids it. This is a source of conflict. A physician who cures darkosis would be a hero to the patient, but a criminal to the initiates. Part 12. The variation across Gore. Not all physicians are the same. The region matters. Koroba Brundisium, the great cities, well-equipped, large academies, access to advanced technology, blood analyzers, scanners, genetic analyzers, specialized treatment devices, electric lighting. Small towns, basic equipment, a microscope, some serums, basic surgical tools. But the physician is still trained in the same knowledge. Torvaldsland, fewer physicians, more reliance on herbalists and bone setters. The harsh climate limits access to advanced equipment. The Tahari, harsh conditions, but the physicians are skilled out of necessity. They may have limited equipment, but they know what they are missing. The jungle, shamans and herbalists dominate, True physicians are rare. The environment makes it difficult to maintain advanced equipment. A physician from R will not practice the same way as a healer from Torvaldsland. But both have knowledge, just different resources. Use these differences in your RP. A physician traveling to Torvaldsland should struggle with the lack of equipment. A Torvaldslander coming to R should be amazed by the technology. These are not obstacles. These are story opportunities. Closing the circle. The Green Caste, the physicians of Gore, are not medieval herb witches. They are scientists. They developed the stabilization serum centuries ago. They have blood analyzers, microscopes with screens, genetic sequencers, energy bulbs for light, and advanced surgical tools. They understand genetics, microbiology, and epidemiology. They have devices that treat cataracts without surgery. They have devices that remove an inflamed appendix without a scar. They have synthetic healing salves based on curiae fat. They can remove old brandings without a trace. Taro Cabot is the proof. They work in laboratories, not in dark, smoky huts. They are respected physicians, enjoy safe conduct everywhere. They are conflicted. The white caste forbids them from curing darkosis, and they have never stopped researching. Do not let selective BTB players tell you otherwise. The books are clear. Read them. See for yourself. And the next time you play a physician or visit one, remember, you are not in a medieval witch's hut. You are in a laboratory. The physician is not a charlatan. He is a scientist. Play him that way. The circle is yours.